maids, au pairs, gardeners, babysitters, and other domestic workers to the wealthy. What's the weirdest thing you've seen rich people do behind closed doors? Helped my mother-in-law, who was a maid once with a very large mansion in NC. Beautiful house, amazing architecture. They traveled the world all the time. The kitchen had old appliances from the 70s. The wife's bathroom had a broken toilet seat that was duct taped together. The wife did not rewear her underwear. We were not to go in the basement. I peeked down there. There were clothes 3 foot deep in the basement, where she took off her clothes and just threw them down there. Thousands of pairs of underwear. Very weird people. Wasn't really behind closed doors or anything, but I delivered furniture to a very rich person's mega house once, only to discover, as we were going from room to room, a few rooms were completely bare and empty. I didn't really register it at first, because I figured we would be putting furniture in there with the load we were delivering, but that didn't happen, and I mentioned to a co-worker how the one room was bigger than my living room and completely bare, and he said maybe they are getting stuff during another round. And the guy heard and said, nah, that room is staying empty. I have no use for it. Same with the others too. I couldn't really wrap my head around a lot of things after that. First off, to be rich enough to afford a house like that, then on top of that, purposefully have parts of your house go completely unused because you don't care about them. Like, why even buy a house that big then? Why overdo it and leave some of it unused? Why not just buy what you need and use it all? Rich people are weird. I know a lady who's discreetly rich. One of those that, unless you knew the more expensive but quiet brands, you wouldn't be able to place her. She would wear designer jewelry sets to the gym. Anyway, her quirk was she liked Costa coffee, so she'd get one day, drink half of it, let it cool, and then put the rest of it in the fridge, and reheat and drink the other half the next day. When she told us that she does this, and we asked her why, she laughed and said, "I'm just frugal." I used to be a live-in nanny for the CEO of a major German investment bank in Berlin. They were a lovely couple with a sweet baby girl, and they made me feel like part of the family from day one. They paid me well, had a separate car for me, and weren't concerned by what I did in my spare time. They were very generous, lovely people. My only gripe is that they had strange eating habits. Some days they would have 3 enormous meals, and other days they would forget to eat all day. I was often too shy to say that I was hungry. My friend works for a tax lawyer for the obscenely wealthy. Their firm is one of those go-to places when you want to take advantage of tax havens. Think Panama, Luxembourg. He tells me one of their clients had an issue and called the people he always turns to for help, his lawyers. The problem? He bought a new jet and only just realized its entertainment system doesn't have a Blu-ray player. This was 5 years ago. Find someone that can fix it. Today, he had lawyers at 3 different firms searching for a solution that afternoon, all billed him for it of course. I worked briefly at a large architecture/design firm. The boss was a Yale-educated guy in his 50s, probably a millionaire in his own right. Every other week or so one client, an elderly man, would call and say something along the lines of, "I don't like how my lawn is oriented anymore. Could you get down here?" Boss man stopped what he was doing and would then bring a couple of staff down to the guy's house. Him and the old guy would spend all afternoon sitting in lawn chairs, drinking beers, and directing the staff to move things around. "No, move that plant a little to the left." Wait, I liked where it was originally. What do you think, boss? Boss guy billed over $1,500 hour, not counting the staff. Guess when you have that money you can hire whoever you want to do whatever random tasks you want. Gosh, where to start? The wife was driving through the home improvement part of the city and saw a sale on bathtubs. So she popped in and bought 3. As she was leaving, she saw another tub she liked and simply had to get that one too. She wasn't renovating a house at the time. They refused to throw away food. Used by and best before dates are completely ignored, to the point where I found a tin of seafood marinara which was 15 years out of date. They have a holiday home in the South Pacific and have a housekeeper clean it 3 times a week, yet they only visit 3 to 4 times a year. When they are not visiting, no one lives there. When the family go out for dinner, the father will happily pay for the expensive meals, but not the drinks. The kids, who are all teens or older, have to pay him back for the drinks and he will send reminder messages about the amount. Yet when any of the kids offer to pay for the meal, he won't accept. The wife is a hoarder and will often take way more samples than any normal person. She always makes sure to take all the shampoo/soap etc from hotel rooms, and if she passes a housekeeping trolley, will grab as many as she can from there too. Yet she never uses them. They have a whole bathroom cupboard dedicated to samples. I was a babysitter for rich people once. Their silverware was constantly filthy and caked in what resembled peanut butter and regret. Their children were pleasant, but refused to brush their teeth more often than their hygiene-impaired parents, until I told them gross stories about gingivitis. The mom had a small Buddhist altar in the living room, but was also extremely vocal about her Christianity. Would repeat the experience. It was mostly getting paid to help with homework and watch Voltron and pillow forts. The most bizarre was this newly rich young family in Vienna. The bedtime routine for the kids, aged 3 and 7, included basically a spa treatment for both. I haven't seen that amount of products in a child's bathroom. They each had their own, in my life. The poor 7-year-old girl had next to no hair on her head, but I was required to slather her in the most expensive adult shampoo, conditioner, hair mask, hair oil, and some other things I didn't recognize, every night. They only had one tiny box of toys and time spent playing was set up for 30 minutes after they brushed their teeth. Dinner was normally a bland fish fillet and a ton of salad. Not a grain of sugar anywhere in the house. Hot cocoa was made with skim milk and pure high quality cocoa. No sweetness to it whatsoever. It tasted awful. They had time to explain everything to me the first time I was there, and I received an inch-thick file with lists and procedures to follow. What they didn't mention was that the older girl was still wearing diapers at night. It made for a very awkward conversation with the child, and I only hope I was sensitive enough to not cause her any future trauma. Very weird. I was a nanny for an affluent family. They had a beautiful home and nice vehicles, and the kids all had lots of toys and new clothes. But while doing laundry one day I had to take a load of mom's cloths out of the dryer, and every single pair of her panties had multiple holes in them. Not like gnaw holes lol, but worn out most tattered panties I've ever seen holes. Got curious and looked in her undergarment drawer, and this was par for the course, and not just period panties. She was like a major high up in a huge company, and her panties looked worse than I would imagine a homeless person wearing. I grew up in a middle class family living in the richest parts of the country. A lot of my friends had incredibly rich parents. What I remember most of all was how weird some of them can be with money. They'd spend big money on some things then turn around to be incredibly frugal on something else. I knew people that wouldn't think twice about dropping your $300k on a new car or putting in a sauna and swimming pool in their basement, but who wouldn't allow us more than half a bag of chips between the three of us. Worked for a beverage distribution place in a very ritzy resort area for a while. Guy's assistant shows up and says he needs a pallet of Evian for his boss's house. No problem. We load it on the truck and drive it up to his house. After unloading we ask him where he wants it, and he leads us into the garage and asks if we can help unload it. So we start downstacking and carry cases of this shit into what I thought would be the kitchen or pantry. Nope. Straight through the house to the back deck. He was filling his hot tub with Evian. The family I worked for had a nanny. Youngest daughter forced a nanny to push her around the entire property while she just emitted a high C note. The property was hundreds of acres and they were at it for quite a while. The breadwinner is the husband. Can't say what he does, as I believe he wouldn't like that. Either way, he was a menace to the trees. Would need work breaks, so he'd grab a pole saw and go to town on random trees. Then he'd get bored and tell me to clear the piles he made and pretty the trees back up. This was also their 365-acre weekend home, complete with dam generated power that took them off grid. They had a mansion in the big city, cottage in cottage country, and this property in farm country. My dad is an electrician and has worked in some very rich houses. He did a job in one where the couple only drank very posh fresh coffee. Fair enough, who wouldn't? But they had a cleaner who was permitted 1 cup of coffee each day, but not their coffee. She had her own separate coffee, but it wasn't even a decent, if cheaper, brand. It was the cheapest possible sort to buy, Astasma Press Instant or something. If a person comes to my flat, whether they are a friend or the plumber, they are a guest and they will drink whatever tea or coffee I drink, because I see them as equals. My dad has told me that some of the stingiest people he knows are also the wealthiest. Once when I was a nanny, I was house sitting while the family was out of the country. The refrigerator in my apartment broke, so I packed up some perishables and brought them to the family's house to store them until the landlord could fix it. When I brought my groceries back to my place, I realized I had accidentally grabbed something that wasn't mine from the cheese drawer. It was a gallon Ziploc bag. Inside that was a smaller Ziploc bag. Inside that was a bundle of wax paper. Inside that was a bundle of plastic wrap. Inside that was another bundle of plastic wrap. Inside that was a bundle of tinfoil. 7 layers deep, I found an old lump of fruitcake. Please like and subscribe for more Reddit videos.